Your alarm blares and your hand slams the snooze button for the third time. Meanwhile, in the quiet darkness, another person is already fully awake, planning a multi-million-dollar deal or writing the next chapter of their novel. This is not a coincidence. We are about to explore the ancient secret behind the 5 a.m. wake-up call. You will learn how to fundamentally redesign your life by mastering your mornings. Why have countless geniuses and leaders, from Benjamin Franklin to modern CEOs, sworn by this single practice? What is the real magic that happens in the brain before the sun rises? This is a wisdom tale about turning ordinary days into an extraordinary life. What is the one change you believe could truly reshape your destiny? This tradition of greeting the dawn stretches back through centuries, far beyond our modern boardrooms. Ancient Roman senators would begin their day before sunrise, strategizing in the quiet of their villas. Monks in medieval monasteries saw the pre-dawn hours as sacred, a time for undisturbed prayer and study that fortified their spirits and intellect. For millennia, farmers have known that the most productive work happens in the cool, focused hours of the morning. This pattern is a universal thread connecting history's great minds. Benjamin Franklin, a man of relentless invention and diplomacy, codified this wisdom into a simple, powerful adage: early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. For Franklin, this was not just a catchy phrase. It was the bedrock of his entire philosophy. He viewed time as our most precious commodity, and by rising with the sun, he believed one could master it, accumulating not just wealth but clarity and sound judgment. The quiet of the morning was his laboratory for thought, a space free from the distractions of the bustling world where his most brilliant ideas could take shape. He was not chasing hustle culture. He was pursuing a fundamental alignment with the natural rhythm of the day, a practice designed to cultivate a richer, more deliberate life. This timeless principle, born in an age of candlelight, sets the stage for a startling modern discovery. What if the true power of 5 a.m. is not just discipline, but a unique biological advantage wired into our very brains? That quiet pre-dawn stillness is not just an empty space. It is a biological sweet spot. Your brain, upon first waking, is in a uniquely pristine state. The mental chatter of yesterday's problems has faded, and the constant barrage of new information has not yet begun. This is when your cognitive resources, your raw processing power, are at their absolute peak. It is like a clean whiteboard, ready for your most important thoughts before the world starts scribbling all over it. This clarity is amplified by a powerful hormonal shift already in motion. Cortisol, your body's primary alertness hormone, naturally peaks in the early morning hours. This is not the bad cortisol associated with chronic stress, but a vital evolutionary signal that primes your system for the day ahead. It gently elevates your focus, your energy, and your readiness to engage with complex challenges. Waking at 5 a.m. allows you to harness this natural surge, to ride the wave of your own biology instead of fighting against it. This leads to a profound psychological principle known as decision fatigue. Every single choice you make throughout the day, from what to wear to how to respond to an email, draws from the same limited pool of mental energy. By the afternoon, that reservoir is depleted, leading to poorer choices, procrastination, and a reliance on autopilot. Now, consider what most people do with their freshest, most alert mental state. They hit snooze, they scroll through social media, they waste that pristine cognitive whiteboard on trivialities. But when you dedicate your first golden hour to your most significant task, you are making a strategic masterstroke. You are applying your sharpest mind to your most important work before the thousands of tiny decisions of the day have a chance to weigh you down. You conserve your finest mental energy for what truly matters, building momentum that carries you through the rest of the day with a sense of accomplishment and control. This is not merely about getting more done. It is about doing your best work when you are biologically designed to do so. Yet, this powerful advantage raises a crucial question. If our brains are so primed for greatness in the morning, why does the act of getting out of bed feel so difficult? What is the invisible force that makes the snooze button so irresistible? The struggle to leave the warmth of your bed is a battle against an ancient biological imperative for comfort and conservation. But you can win this battle by redefining what waits for you on the other side of that alarm. The victory lies not in the act of waking up, but in the sacred purpose of the first hour that follows. This is your golden hour, a deliberately crafted period of personal growth that happens before the world wakes up to make its demand. This hour is not for checking emails or scrolling through news feeds. It is a private, uninterrupted investment in the person you are becoming. Think of this hour as having 4 distinct pillars, each strengthening a different part of you. The first pillar is mental clarity, often achieved through a simple practice of meditation or deep breathing. For just 10 minutes, you sit in silence, observing your breath. This is not about emptying your mind, but about calming the internal noise, creating a foundation of focus for the day ahead. It is the equivalent of smoothing the sand before you draw your plans. The second pillar is intention setting, and this is where journaling becomes powerful. With a notebook, you do 2 things. First, you write down 3 things you are grateful for. This simple act shifts your brain from a state of lack to a state of abundance. Second, you write your single most important goal for the day. This is not a sprawling to-do list. It is the one thing that, if accomplished, will make the day feel like a success. This practice programs your subconscious to recognize and seize opportunities related to that goal. The third pillar is knowledge. Dedicate 20 minutes to reading something that expands your mind, not just the headlines. It could be a chapter from a book on history, a biography of someone you admire, or an article about a skill you want to develop. You are feeding your brain substantive ideas before it gets filled with the day's trivialities, ensuring your first intellectual meal is both nutritious and fulfilling. The final pillar is physical energy. This does not mean a grueling workout. It means 5 to 10 minutes of light movement, some gentle stretching, a series of yoga poses, or a short walk outside. The goal is to wake your body up, to get your blood flowing and signal to your system that the day has begun. This movement releases endorphins, pairing a sense of well-being with the mental clarity you have already cultivated. When you combine these 4 pillars, you are not just starting your day, you are architecting it from a place of strength, purpose, and calm. You exit your golden hour not as someone who was dragged into the day, but as someone who consciously designed its beginning. But how do you ensure this powerful practice becomes an unshakable habit, especially when motivation inevitably fades? That first accomplishment, achieved before most people have even opened their eyes, sends a powerful signal to your subconscious mind. You have already won the day. This small, private victory creates a ripple effect, coloring every subsequent hour with a sense of capability and control. The psychological edge is not just about the extra time, it is about the foundational confidence it builds. Each morning you choose to rise and invest in your golden hour. You are casting a vote for your own discipline. You are proving to yourself with action that you are the type of person who follows through on their commitments. This is not about a single day of motivation. It is about the compound effect of hundreds of small decisions that forge an unshakable identity. Over weeks and months, the act of waking up at 5 a.m. ceases to be a struggle and becomes a non-negotiable part of who you are, a person of profound self-trust. This cultivated discipline directly fuels a powerful sense of agency. Agency is the deeply held belief that you are the author of your life, not a passive character being pushed around by external events. When you begin your day by design, you are seizing the steering wheel. You are deciding what matters most before the world's emergencies and distractions can decide for you. This proactive stance is the ultimate antidote to the stress and anxiety that plague modern life. Think of the average morning for so many. The alarm blares, they hit snooze until the last possible second, then they rush out the door, already late, their first action being a reactive scramble. They spend the rest of the day feeling like they are constantly putting out fires, always one step behind, their energy drained by a relentless sense of urgency they did not create. Now contrast that with the 5 a.m. riser. Their day begins in stillness and intention. They have already cared for their mind, set their goals, and moved their body. By the time the first email arrives or the first phone rings, they have been awake for hours, centered and prepared. They are not reacting to the day, they are directing it. This fundamental shift from reactivity to proactivity is what dramatically lowers stress. You are no longer at the mercy of a chaotic inbox or a crowded calendar because you have already affirmed your own priorities. You face challenges from a foundation of accomplishment, not a starting line of panic. The quiet of the early morning becomes your strategic command center, where you plan your moves with a calm, clear mind. This psychological edge is the real prize, the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you have already done the work to become the person you want to be, long before the rest of the world has even started its race. Leo felt the familiar weight of his own life pressing down on him. He was a graphic designer whose days blurred into a cycle of client demands, late-night deadlines, and a constant low-grade anxiety. He felt reactive, as if he were always catching up to a train that had already left the station. Then, an old mentor named Clara re-entered his life. She was a woman of quiet composure and startling productivity, and over coffee, she pointed to the single habit she said had changed everything. Leo laughed. 5 in the morning sounded less like a strategy and more like a form of punishment, but feeling desperate, he agreed to try. The first week was a brutal war against his own body. The alarm felt like a personal enemy. He would stumble into his quiet living room, his mind foggy with resentment, and simply stare at the wall, wondering what the point was. The meditation felt silly, the journaling forced. He was just a very tired man sitting in the dark, but Clara had told him to focus on the process, not the outcome. So he persisted. After about 10 days, a subtle shift occurred. One morning, during his 5 minutes of stretching, he noticed the profound silence of the world outside his window. It was a peaceful, empty canvas. That same day, he wrote a single, clear goal in his journal: finish the logo concept for his most important client. He then spent his 20 minutes of reading on design theory, not scrolling through social media. When he sat down at his desk later that morning, something was different. The creative block that had plagued him for a week seemed to have vanished. The ideas flowed easily, and he completed the logo in one focused burst. It was a small win, but it was his. He had accomplished his most important task before 9 a.m., and the rest of the day felt like a gift, spacious and under his control. Week by week, these small wins compounded. The rushed, frantic mornings were replaced by a sacred, purposeful hour. He was no longer just Leo, the stressed designer. He was becoming Leo, who wrote his goals, who moved his body, who fed his mind. His confidence grew not from a single success, but from the daily proof that he could keep a promise to himself. The transformation was not just in his work, but in his entire demeanor. The constant tension in his shoulders eased. He felt a sense of agency he had not felt in years, the quiet thrill of being the author of his own days. The most common objection to this entire practice is a simple one: I am just not a morning person. It feels like an unchangeable identity, a fixed trait wired into your very being. But the science of our internal clocks tells a different story. Your circadian rhythm, the powerful biological cycle that dictates your sleep and wakefulness, is not a rigid program. It is a flexible rhythm that can be reset and retrained with patience and strategy. Think of it less like a concrete schedule and more like a musical beat. You can learn to dance to a new tempo. This adaptability is our evolutionary inheritance. our ancestors adjusted their sleep patterns with the shifting seasons and the available light. Your body still holds that capacity for change. The key is to transition gradually, not through a jarring act of sheer willpower. If you normally wake at 7, setting an alarm for 5 tomorrow is a recipe for failure and misery. Instead, begin by shifting your wake-up time by just 15 minutes earlier every 3 or 4 days. This gentle approach allows your internal clock to adjust almost imperceptibly. Move your bedtime back by 15 minutes as well, protecting the full duration of your rest. Within a few weeks, you will find yourself naturally waking at your target time, your body having seamlessly synchronized to the new rhythm. This process dismantles the myth of the morning person. The ability to rise with energy at 5 a.m. is not a genetic lottery win. It is a skill painstakingly built through consistent repetition. No one expects to play a complex piano sonata on their first try. They practice scales day after day until their fingers know the movements by heart. Waking early is the same. The first days will feel awkward. The first week may feel like a struggle, but with each repetition, you are strengthening the neural pathways that make the action automatic. You are not proving you lack a special talent. You are proving that you possess the far more powerful ability to build a habit. This makes the practice profoundly democratic. It is not reserved for a select few born with boundless energy. It is available to anyone willing to show up for themselves consistently, even on the days when motivation is absent. The goal is not perfection. The goal is showing up again tomorrow and the next day until the act of rising becomes as natural as breathing. The true power of this practice is not the specific number on the clock, but the principle it represents. Rigidly forcing a 5 a.m. wake-up if your body and life resist it is a recipe for burnout, not brilliance. The goal is not to fight your nature, but to discover your own unique biological prime time. This is the window in your day when your energy, focus, and creativity are naturally at their highest peak. For some, that is indeed the silent pre-dawn. For others, it might be the calm of a late evening or even the focused energy of mid-morning. The key is to observe yourself. When do you feel most alert and capable of deep work without forcing it? That is your sweet spot. Honoring your personal rhythm is far more important than worshipping a specific hour. To claim this prime time, you must protect the foundation it rests upon, which is consistent, high-quality sleep. Waking at 5 a.m. is a hollow victory if it means surviving on just 5 or 6 hours of rest. The equation is non-negotiable. An earlier wake-up time demands a correspondingly earlier bedtime. This is not a sacrifice, it is a strategic trade. You are exchanging late-night distractions, which often offer little value, for a morning of profound purpose and control. Calculate your ideal bedtime based on needing 7 to 8 hours of sleep and treat that boundary as sacred. The magic of the morning is entirely dependent on the restoration of the night. Once you have identified your prime time and secured your sleep, the next step is to design a morning ritual that is uniquely yours. Your golden hour should be a direct reflection of your deepest aspirations. If your primary goal is creative output, your morning might be spent writing, sketching, or composing music in that state of untouched mental clarity. If physical vitality is your focus, your ritual could center on a full workout, feeling the strength in your body before the mental demands of the day begin. For someone focused on learning, this time is a classroom of one, dedicated to studying a new language or diving into a complex subject. There is no single right way to structure this hour. The only rule is that it must feel like an investment in the person you are committed to becoming. It must matter to you. Ask yourself, what is the one thing that, if I did it consistently, would create the most positive ripple through my entire life? Let the answer to that question become the cornerstone of your morning. This practice is a framework, not a cage. It is about consciously designing the start of your day to build momentum toward your most meaningful goals, whatever time that start may be. The ultimate victory is not in waking up early, but in waking up with intention. This quiet discipline does not stay confined to the early hours. It sends ripples through your entire day, reshaping your relationship with time itself. Because you have already accomplished your most important task, a profound psychological shift occurs. The frantic pressure to perform evaporates. You are no longer racing against the clock, but moving with a sense of spaciousness. This newfound calm fundamentally alters your approach to time management. You begin to batch similar tasks together, protecting your focus instead of fracturing it across dozens of small interruptions. You find yourself naturally prioritizing, asking not what is most urgent, but what is most significant. The day feels longer, not because the hours have changed, but because you are no longer wasting the precious mental energy that was previously drained by a reactive, scattered start. With your key objective already completed, the quality of your work output soars. You are applying your freshest, most creative mind to your biggest challenges. The work you produce in this state is not just faster, it is inherently better, more innovative, and more deeply considered. There is no late afternoon fatigue compromising your judgment, no desperate rush to meet a deadline with subpar effort. You are operating from a place of abundance, not scarcity. This consistent delivery of high-quality work builds a reputation for reliability and excellence, opening doors to opportunities that hustle and hurry could never unlock. Perhaps one of the most surprising ripples is the effect on your health and willpower. That initial act of self-mastery sets a positive precedent for every subsequent choice. When you have already honored a commitment to yourself, the decision to choose a nutritious breakfast over a sugary pastry feels easier. The mental energy required to opt for a walk or a workout is more readily available. You are not drawing from an empty well of willpower by midday. You are conserving it because your most demanding act of discipline was already achieved in the quiet of the morning. This creates a virtuous cycle where better choices fuel more energy, which in turn supports greater focus and resilience. Ultimately, these ripples converge where it matters most, in your relationships with others. When you begin your day centered and accomplished, you show up to your interactions as a different person. You are not the stressed, distracted individual snapping at a loved one because of a work crisis. You are present, you listen more deeply because your mind is not cluttered with the anxiety of unfinished priorities. Your patience is longer, your humor is more accessible, and your capacity for empathy is expanded. You are not bringing the exhausted remnants of your day to the people you care about. You are bringing the best of yourself, a self that is in control of its time and its energy. The 5 a.m. wake-up call is not about stealing an hour from your rest. It is about gifting a more focused, patient, and present version of you to your entire life. This wisdom tale is built upon 4 unshakable pillars that span the ages. We began with the historical precedent, seeing how the quiet of the dawn has been the silent partner to genius and discipline for centuries, from Roman senators to Benjamin Franklin. This is not a new fad, but a timeless principle rediscovered by each generation. We then uncovered the scientific backing, the biological sweet spot where a pristine mind meets a natural cortisol surge, offering unparalleled cognitive clarity before the world awakes. The third pillar is the profound psychological shift, the move from reactivity to agency that dramatically lowers stress and builds an unshakable identity of self-trust. And finally, we explored the adaptable framework, the understanding that the goal is not rigidly worshipping a specific hour, but consciously designing a morning ritual that aligns with your personal prime time and your deepest aspirations. These 4 elements together form a complete system for transformation. The story is now yours to continue. Do not just be a spectator of this tale, become the protagonist of your own. The most powerful question you can ask yourself is not whether this will work, but what you will create with the quiet hours you claim. Your challenge is to experiment for just 1 week. Shift your wake-up time, craft your own golden hour, and witness the ripples it creates through your focus, your work, and your peace. Then return and share your story. Tell us in the comments what you discovered. Your experience becomes the next chapter in this ongoing wisdom tale for us all.